If you own a home or a property in Anaheim Hills or anywhere in Orange County and thinking about 2022, this is February 22, is this a good time to sell? Great question. What I would say is,
yeah, baby, yeah!
In this video, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 tips if you're thinking about selling in 2022 and give you the reasons why, yes, this is a good time to sell. Let's get to it. So if you are thinking of selling your property in Anaheim Hills or Orange County or anywhere in the US, these tips pretty much apply because that's a general trend right now. So let me give you tip number 1 why this may be a good time to sell. The number 1 reason is there's a strong buyer demand. Despite the skyrocketing high prices, buyers are still buying. In 2020, 6.5 million homes sold. In 2021, 7 million homes sold. So there's a big demand despite the high prices and low inventory. So if you want to cash out with the highest price, possibly may drop next year, who knows? This may be a good time to sell and buy another house or do an exchange or use your equity for something else. Tip number 2, at least in Anaheim Hills, homes are selling, according to the multiple listing service, which I'm a member of, homes are selling in Anaheim Hills within 5 to 6 days, even with these high prices. So if you're a seller, like the old traditional times, you don't have to wait 2 months, 3 months, have open houses every weekend, have people coming in your house. You do an open house one day, probably Saturday from 1 to 4, and I can assure you, if it's marketed right and priced right, your home is gonna sell within a few hours, if not within a few days. As I mentioned earlier, homes in Anaheim Hills are selling within 5 or 6 days, and this trend is throughout Orange County. Most homes are selling on average within 17 days. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. I come up with tips every week, sometimes more tips, 2 or 3 tips a week, and I'd appreciate also your comments. By the way, in the description below, in case you're curious about what your home is worth today, in today's market, February 2022, the first link in the description will give you an instant home value. Not only that, after that, every month you will get an updated value automatically of your house. So feel free to click on that link, get your house value. So the next tip, in this high price market, when you list a home at fair market value, and of course you're going to list it at pretty good price, homes are selling on average 3 to 5% more than the list price. Obviously the list price has to be fair market value, and even the fair market value homes are pretty high right now. As an example, Anaheim Hills, where the median home price is $1 million these days, if you list it at $1 million, you'll probably end up selling it for 1.1 or so, or 3 to 5% more. If it's remodeled and if you have a view and if you have an extra lot, you'll even got a lot more. So the other reason to sell now is you're going to get a lot more than the list price, or you're going to get a lot more when the neighbor just sold. One of the things that sellers prefer not to do when it comes time to selling a home, whether it's a normal market or a hot market, is sellers don't like spruce up the house, clean up the house, change the flooring or change the carpeting. But the good news is in today's market, buyers are buying anything. So if you have an older carpet, older paint, you don't really have to do it. You can just sell it as it is. But if you want to do all the upgrades and upkeep, which I do recommend, you'll get a higher price. But on the other hand, once you're in escrow, this is a great tip, by the way. Once you're in escrow in today's market, the buyers may do an inspection, and in a typical market or in a normal market, the buyers will request for you to do the repairs. Let's say the AC is not working or the stove is not working. But in this market, if you tell them you're not going to do it, you don't have to do any repairs and they'll still pay the price that you want. The only thing that we recommend that you do when you do sell your house is do the fire code and safety items that are required by the state of California. So that's the only thing you have to do if you don't want to do. But if you're one of the sellers that you want to give the best house to your buyers, feel free to repair those. I'm going to give you a bonus tip after this tip, and this next tip is in this market, because the home prices are going up every 20-30 days, the appraisals are not coming into value. So as I mentioned to you earlier, let's say you listed your house for $1 million in Anaheim Hills or anywhere, and it's sold for 1.15, which is a big reality. And when they get the loan and when they do the appraisal, let's say the appraisal coming at $1,050,000. So in other words, if you sold for 1.1, the appraisal came at 1.05, the buyer is 50,000 short on the appraisal. So in this case, the buyer will have to come up with the extra $50,000 on top of the down payment, which is pretty normal these days. So the other advantage of selling now is if you get the price that you want or more price than you expected, you don't have to worry about appraisal because you find a buyer that's going to pay you the difference. So hope these tips tips help. And let me give you a bonus tip is that let's say you're a seller and say, hey, look, if I sell my house and I have to buy another house, I'm going to go to the same thing. The good thing is the prices have jumped 30-40% in the last 4 or 5 years. So you have a lot of equity. So yes, when you buy, you're going to pay a lot of price. But if you take all this equity from your house and put it in the other house, your payments may not be that high. The other thing is buyers are allowing you as a seller to stay in the house 1, 2, 3 months so you can find another house. And there's other good things, other tips. If you want more tips, comment below and I'll send you more tips. Thanks for watching. And please watch my next video on tips for selling your home.